I didn't really do a good disclaimer. Sorry about that. These are going to be intense questions. They're your questions, so I'm just reminding everyone of that. And these are our views as InterVarsity Christian Fellowship. If you're showing up tonight and you've never been to InterVarsity, or you wouldn't even identify yourself as a Christian, I just want to throw that out there. Then just have your ears open to what we're saying. We're not saying this to anybody as any way of coming down upon, saying, this is what you shall believe, We just wanted to create a space because sometimes people don't talk about how does God and sexuality, God and sex, how do they overlap, right? So I just wanted to throw that out there. Probably should have said that before, but just to remind everyone, I'm going to answer the follow-up question to that. The follow-up question to what Anna was saying was, what if I've already lost my virginity? What if I'm not a virgin anymore? And like I said, if you're here and you're not a Christian, then losing your virginity isn't necessarily a spiritual issue. If you're a Christian or you have a relationship with God, then losing your virginity is a spiritual issue. You do see those things as overlapping. So for me, I know that in my experience, I had a ton of shame. God's word says nothing can separate us from his love, but we can be so bogged down with shame that we can't even see his love. That the things that we do can separate us from even knowing, does he even really love me? I can't feel him. I don't see him. And personally, I had a lot of shame and condemnation because I was sexually abused as a child through adulthood all the way through up and through college. And I kind of just accepted that's my life. Even knowing who God was, just accepted this is what it's about. Like, what I thought sex was and these intimate acts that were spiritual and that people could have love and all these different layers, that's not what it was for me. Had never been my experience. And I started to believe things about who God was. I started to believe things about who I was based on the abuse that I had received, what people had done to me, communicated to me who I was and what my worth was. And it wasn't until I really brought that to God, not this God that I thought looked at those parts of me and was like, oh, that is so bad, like, you're gross, or whatever I thought. He was like throwing lightning bolts, like, you sinner, like shooting me down. But when I separated all that and I saw, wait a minute, I can bring this to God and he can actually heal that part of me. And actually, not just that, he restored it. And I know you might hear like born again virgin or whatever that means, but I'm not even going to say that label at all. I was born again spiritually. I'm a new creation. And when people even see me from, honestly, my past, back in the day, I was a little wild, but I'm not. I'm wild for a different thing now. But honestly, they're like, you're a nun? I'm like, I'm not a nun. What? Okay. But seeing that shift was so extreme, and that really just testifies to what God can do when we bring him those areas, when we bring him that brokenness, that shame, that guilt, that condemnation. Not only does he take it and forgive us, but he makes us a new creation. He makes us restores our whole identity. We can become whole new people. And that was my story. I got to marry my first kiss. So I may have kissed quite a few frogs in between, okay? I may have not been super awesome in those different period of time between meeting him and marrying him. But the Lord totally knew that was my story. And I never thought I would have a story like that. And that we got to wait to have sex until our wedding night. And I literally got to wear white on my wedding day, and I didn't have any of that. It came with work. I had to go to a lot of counseling, and I had to be in a safe community who did life with me and walked with me. So if you have any of those experienced sexual abuse, or you have lost your virginity, or any of those different things, we're going to create space at the end of the night to talk about all the things coming up for you guys. But definitely, God can meet us wherever we're at, whatever we've done, and whatever we've been through. Okay, so jumping into the next question. Is masturbation wrong?
You like me to?
Why?
Yeah, hard question,
Why?
right? Sorry for the pun there. All right, is I was told no holds barred. We could just go for it tonight, right? Is that okay? All right, so we're gonna do it. All right, is masturbation wrong? It's kind of one of those questions. So being with Triple X Church, this is the question we get all the time. Is it wrong? So what do? We start that conversation. We put it out online and see what kind of response we get first. Let's just go with the conversation. So I did that about 2 years ago.